how much weight should your horse carry? What's the general consensus or marker for how much weight a horse should carry, whether it's being saddled and ridden or packed for like backcountry load bearing?
Preferably all of me at a minimum.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah.
uh, that's a good question because a horse that's overloaded can handle the weight for a short time. If you underload them, then you're just not being efficient. You're not using them as much as you could. But sometimes you can't get away from that. You got somebody who's light, a light rider. You're not going to get a lot of stuff on them or put stuff with them. They need to just enjoy their horse. So let's say you got 1,000-pound horse, for just argument's sake. Let's make this math easy. They can pack ultimately day in and day out with feeding like they should be fed and working not super hard but moderate. Say good rule of thumb for a pack horse working every day is 20% of their weight, so 200 pounds, and that's not an extraordinary amount of weight, but it does add up. You take a pack saddle wise with pads, all of your tack on it, your breeching, breast collar, all of your gear and ropes. Call it 30 pounds. And so that's going to leave you 170 pounds to split between your panniers, if you use panniers, which have weight themselves, and then everything in them. Or if you decide to manty something, which of course I like the mantying style better, but you split that 170 pounds two ways. Now you're looking at what, 85 and a half pounds, right? 85 pounds
Sure.
for a side. And if you pick up an 85 pound manty, it's not hard to pick up, but it is heavy. So there's a lot of gear that can go in that. It's a little bit more than what you think. But you can certainly overload a horse. So you can do a lot some real wacky loads. Something that goes in, some specialty stuff. You can overload an animal pretty hard because you can put stuff on top between those manties too. You put a couple of grain sacks up there. Now you've added, if you do two of those, now you've got an extra 100 pounds, 50 pounds a sack, even a single 50-pound sack. You can overload them, but that generally is a one-way trip because you're going to probably use that up, or you're going to store it somewhere and then not be using it all the time, every day.
Now, there was a quick technical difficulty, glitched out a little, but I think the short story is essentially you got to be careful of the weight because it's not just you that's on top of the horse, it's all the stuff that goes with it. That was kind of the point that you brought up. But then
Right.
the other thing too, with like 90 seconds left to go, I think another thing that you've shown over the time, and we'll probably show teaser for next year, when we pack, sometimes you can use a lighter pack, but it's more bulky, and that ends up kind of leveling things out a little bit because while it might be lighter on one side, it does create that leverage that helps add the weight to it. So I'll just toss it to you for the last 60 seconds.
Yeah, and that not isn't so much real weight, but it figures into the balancing of the load and how you load it. The weight is still the weight, but when you have a lever arm on something and sticks way out, it tends to want to roll that saddle. So that's more of a balance issue than anything else. But yeah, bulk adds weight or creates weight when it sticks out.
Yeah. So with that, that's us and whether or not you should consider the weight to your horse when you're riding or packing them in the backcountry.